Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for being here. We're hanging out together for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and, of course, in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuned into the program today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk and making 580 Sports Talk a part of your Thursday. My name is Dan Lucero. It'll mostly be me today. Somebody's going to pop in for What Is Wrong With You. It'll be Spencer Dupuis. But mostly me today, mostly a solo act here for the next 3 hours on the program. And we are pleased to be with you here on this lovely Thursday. Lots to get to on the show today. First of all, as Andrew puts it in the live chat on YouTube, happy opening day. This is opening day. What I decided yesterday, today, and tomorrow being opening days for different teams. Tomorrow, of course, is Royals opening day. This is opening day. Today, where everybody but 8 other teams is playing opening day. This is opening day observed. Yesterday, was opening day eve. Did y'all ever get to open just one present on Christmas Eve? Because that was the tradition in the Lucero household growing up. You got to open one thing on Christmas Eve night, and then all the rest of the presents on Christmas. So last night, only getting one baseball game, and it was a dog's breakfast of a game, and if the game was bad, the broadcast was worse. That was opening day eve last night, which I suppose makes tomorrow opening day Boxing Day? Do you follow? Do you pick up what I'm putting down? Yeah, tomorrow is opening day Boxing Day, and six teams open, including, of course, the Kansas City Royals tomorrow. So, but yes, this is the first full day of Major League Baseball games. Hope you have maybe gotten to enjoy some of them. I will say this, being able to watch opening day baseball in the daytime on network television, NBC, back in the baseball broadcasting business after 20, 25, at least 25 years, maybe longer. They had the Pirates-Mets game on today. It was on big NBC. That feels right. That feels just. That feels like the way it ought to be. Baseball on network TV. But anyhow, a whole mess of baseball games going on right now. We'll talk some more about it. And we'll get into the Royals, even though, of course, they do not open until opening Boxing Day. They open tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves. We'll have it for you, that game and all the rest of them right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 all season long. You're home for the Royals, just like we have been since the first pitch in 1969. Royals and Braves tomorrow night, 5:30 pregame on the network. So we'll be done a little early on tomorrow's show. But with one day still left to imagine, to dream, to project what the 2026 season could be, there's one thing the Royals have to avoid that they did not avoid last season. There are a lot of things that have to be different, obviously. 82-80 missed the playoffs. Aspirations are higher, and I think reasonably higher for this year's Royals team, and a lot has to be different to make that happen. But one thing in particular, I think the Royals are pretty well positioned to have be different. That's not great English, but I trust that you're following me. One thing that I think is set up to be different for these Kansas City Royals as 2026 gets underway. So we will get into that. We are down to one day on our countdown. 1 day away from opening day. For the Royals, anyway. Opening day, Boxing Day version. Also on the program today, there is, as of this hour, no news one way or another about who's going to coach the Kansas men's basketball program next year. There was a lot of smoke yesterday about the possibility of, there's going to be a press conference today, and Bill Self's going to announce his retirement. And Bill Self shot all that down And there has not nearly been as much discussion today at any point about the possibility of having had a press conference either today or in a day in the near future about the future of Kansas men's basketball. But whether Bill Self is the coach next year or not, the Sweet 16 starts tonight. Kansas is not playing in it for the fourth consecutive year. Don't let a coach who isn't Bill Self miss the Sweet 16 for 4 straight years. Because whoever comes after Bill Self, whenever that is, whether that's this season or whether that's in a season to come down the road, don't let them miss the Sweet 16 4 straight times. Because they're not going to get a fifth year. That's not good enough at Kansas. The reason it's good enough for Bill Self is he's got 2 natties. He's got a world of equity. But 4 straight years missing the Sweet 16. Why does this team keep bumping its head on that ceiling? What are the things that have to change for Kansas basketball? Whether head coach is one of them or not, what has to change for Kansas? There are 3, I think, very obvious things that have to be different for Kansas. And whether, again, the head coach is Bill Self or whoever, you or me, they got to address these 3 things to get Kansas back to a point where making the second weekend, not just making the second weekend, but making a deep tournament run, get back to that Final Four, top 10 in the country kind of level, is not just accomplished because you caught a good matchup. It's accomplished because you were the favorite and you took care of business. KU's not far away, but there are 3 things that either Bill Self or his successor are going to have to put in motion for the 2026-27 Jayhawks and teams in seasons to come. We'll also get to a little football today because we have now heard from both Colin Klein and Lance Leipold as spring football is underway in earnest in both Manhattan and Lawrence. Klein spoke yesterday. Leipold spoke today for his first spring football press conference. I got one big question for each program entering the spring. And it's a general question. We're not going to get real granular like, well, who's going to be the starting right guard for the Kansas State Wildcats? We'll figure all that out in due time. One big picture question I have for both programs entering spring practice. We'll get into a little bit of football later on in the show. We'll also talk about tonight's Sweet 16 games. You're going to hear it all right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Once we sign off at 6 o'clock, we're going to send it to Westwood 1, and there'll be a tip-off at 6:10. First game tonight is scheduled for a 6:10 Central Time tip-off, so you'll hear the whip-around coverage from Westwood 1 of the Sweet 16 games tonight. Texas-Purdue tips off first. Iowa-Nebraska to follow. The late window features Arkansas-Arizona and Illinois-Houston. We'll break down those games. I'll give you my picks a little bit later on in the show today. Plus, our usual Thursday shenanigans. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. It's our last What Is Wrong With You competition day of March. We have our semifinals for the month tomorrow. No show Monday due to the Royals home opener. So March 31st, last day of the month, we'll crown our March champion next Tuesday. So we've got all that coming up. And, of course, a great guest today. Can't forget about Pistol Rick Peterson of TopSports.news going to join the program at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. All county boys and girls basketball teams have been released. We're going to talk to Pistol about those and also get his thoughts on the start of the spring sports season. The bat and ball sports are underway and other sports soon to follow. We'll talk to Pistol all about it coming up on the local sports spotlight, the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be part of the show today. Want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the YouTube chat today. If you're watching the program on YouTube, first of all, hello. Second of all, thanks for being in the live chat, Paul and Mark H. and Andrew. Good to hear from you guys so far today. Look forward to hearing from more of you who tune in the show on YouTube today. And here's an added fun bonus. If you watch on YouTube today, there's a better than decent chance that the camera is going to fall off the wall again. And maybe, I don't know, start a pool. Get a prediction market going in the YouTube live chat. We have had some issues with the camera rig. you know how suction cups sometimes reach an end of life. We might be there with the suction cup on this. It died on us yesterday. It took the Nestea plunge on Spencer, I think, like 3 times in the final half hour of the show. So it may well do it again today, or it may not. You'll just have to tune into the YouTube stream to find out. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Again, welcome to those of you participating in the live chat. Appreciate everybody being in the live chat today. Look forward to hearing from more of you. Hop in that chat. If you've never been in before, why not today? Stay inside. It's hot out. Get the air conditioning cranked up. Turn us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And hop in that live chat. Say hello. Interact with yours truly. Interact with your fellow listeners. And grow the 580 Sports Talk community over on our YouTube stream. All right, we got one day till Royals opening day. We are 27 hours away from Michael Garcia. I got it right that time. Hey, look at that. Finally going to get it right in time for opening day. Michael Garcia stepping in to the batter's box against Chris Sale at Truist Park in Atlanta to open the Royals 2026 campaign. You cannot, it is widely understood, win a pennant in the month of April. You know who knows this? The 2021 Royals. Remember how much fun April 2021 was for the Royals? 15-9 right out of the gate. I think they got to 16-9 or 17-10, something like that was the high water mark. Led the Central by a game and a half. Did not go that way the rest of the year for Mike Matheny's Charges. They finished, I think, 74-88 that year, if my memory serves. I'm not looking at it, but I do remember that hot start to the month of April and everything that came after that. If you could win a pennant in April, the 2021 Royals would have done it. But you can't. Cannot win a pennant in April. You can sure lose one. You can sure put yourself behind an 8 ball. Dig yourself a hole that's really, really hard to dig out of. It's not dissimilar from going behind big early in a single game, really. And you might think, well, yeah, of course it's different. You're talking about one single game, but the process is the same. You fall behind big. You end up in a hole, in a ditch. You've got to expend a lot of energy to get out of that hole. A lot of energy. You have to be perfect on every possession, on every at bat. You have to be so dialed in to make sure that you eat into that deficit and maybe even if it all works out for you, you jump out ahead and you take the lead. Did anybody see the Tulsa-Wichita State NIT game the other night where Wichita State was down 24 in the first half, came back and actually led the game? You know what happened after that? Their legs were gone. They didn't have any juice left. It was hard to sustain that level of heightened focus and awareness and excellence, sustained excellence, to pull that game over the finish line. And Wichita State ended up losing that game to Tulsa, getting eliminated from the NIT. Same goes for a baseball season. You dig a hole in April, you might climb out of it. You can. You've got, depending on how many games there are in March/April. Understand that when I refer to April in this context, I'm also referring to whatever percentage of games are played in the month of March, which is a not insignificant percentage of games any longer. You can dig your way out of difficulty, and if you're really, really excellent, you can sustain a level of excellence to the point where a slow April or even a slow May can be a thing of the past. It's just harder. And the Royals found that out last year. Remember, they opened 8-14, lost 14 of their first 22. And that slow start, not to mention the context of that slow start, because if you remember, Royals had a 10-game road trip in April where they went to Cleveland, they went to the Bronx to play the Yankees, and they went to Detroit to play the Tigers. So that was, in order, the reigning division champs, the reigning American League champs, and the team that finished just behind the Royals in the wild card spot in the Central the year before. That was a heavy-hitting 10-game road trip right out of the gate. Royals did not play well in that road trip. They lost 7 straight on that road trip, and they were fortunate to win the finale in Detroit to get back on a plane on a high note. And that win did propel the Royals. You may recall that after that, after starting 8-14, they won 16 of their next 18. But that slow start, that 8-14 out of the gate, had the Royals chasing the entire rest of the year. They were always trying to make up ground. That's a hard thing to do over the course of 162 games. You are always chasing. And the Royals found themselves in that predicament where they were just always chasing all year long and never could get caught up. The Royals have another tough trip in April this year. It's only a 2-city trip, but it's the same two teams, two of the same three teams from that last season, early road trip last year. They go to Detroit and they go to New York to play the Yankees from April 14th through the 19th. But by and large, when you look at the Royals' schedule, this is a gentler start to the season than last year. They opened in Atlanta, a team that won 76 games last year and is down a whole bunch of quality starting pitching and their projected starting DH, who got popped for roids for a second time, Jurickson Profar. Then the first home opponent is Minnesota, a team that projects to not be particularly good, followed by a trip to Milwaukee, or rather a series against Milwaukee. And that's a Milwaukee team that lost a whole lot from their division championship team last year. I don't think that's a 97-win team on paper this year. Then a trip to Cleveland, who I don't think is as good as last year. 4 at home with Chicago, improving Chicago, yes, but they're still the White Sox. And the Royals have handled them pretty well over the last 2-3 years. Then you have that tough road trip, Detroit and the Yankees, 6 games. Followed by 6 at home against Baltimore and the Angels, who stink, and 3 at Sacramento to close out April. That is not particularly daunting. And that, on paper, should give the Royals an opportunity to get off to a good start here in 2026. But beyond just what the schedule allows, it would certainly have been understandable if last year's Royals had come out of the gate a little bit tight, maybe feeling the weight of expectations following the unexpected run to the 2024 postseason. It would have been entirely understandable for the Royals to have felt like they had to deliver an encore right out of the gate, and for that to have contributed in part to a slower start. And if last year they were a bit tight out of the gate, I don't think that should be any kind of a consideration this season. Number one, they are back to being hunters. They did not, of course, make the playoffs last year. But number two, I keep going back to the performance of, and it'd be one thing if it was your 25th or your 26th man, or like your last guy in the bullpen had a really nice World Baseball Classic for a country that doesn't have a lot of players or whatever it is. No, man, the Royals' best guys all rocked the Casbah at the World Baseball Classic. Vinny, Jack, Salvi, Garcia, Bobby, all these guys had terrific World Baseball Classic appearances and come out of that with good vibes and confidence. This should be a much more confident Royals team that hits the ground running in 2026. And if that confidence should lead to a better April record, it will put the Royals in a position, barring something obnoxious out of the gate from the Tigers. Like maybe the Tigers go like 1984 Tigers, they win 35 of their first 40, and then you are chasing. It doesn't matter what you did. But if the Royals can put themselves in a position where they do not dig the kind of hole they dug last year, which I think is entirely reasonable to expect, given what I think is a high confidence level on this team, what I think is a higher talent level offensively, certainly on this team, I think that's going to be something that does this team a really big favor for the grind that the 162 games will impose upon them. Fast starts are pivotal. They lend themselves to belief. You don't want to trip and fall out of the gate like the Royals did last year. I don't think this team is built to do that, and I think the schedule should allow them to get off to a flyer this year. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll I guess, finish the countdown. Well, one day to opening day. We'll finish the countdown to Royals opening day. We'll get your reaction as well from the text line, 785-272-9429, and from the live chat on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. We got Rick Peterson at TopSports.news coming up in just a little bit this opening hour as well. Going to talk some KU basketball, little spring football for both KU and K-State. Sweet 16 coming up tonight. Lots to get to on this Thursday. Glad you're along for the ride on 580 Sports Talk. .330 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting wound up on this 3-hour show on this Thursday. A check on some scores across Major League Baseball on this opening day. The Mets lead the Pirates 11-7 in the top of the ninth. Rough opener for Paul Skeens. Much like he was almost a Troop, He almost got out of the first inning today. 2/3 of an inning for Skeens, pulled due to pitch count reasons. They don't want to overdrive him, have him throw 40 pitches in the first inning of the first game. Understandable. Also, it was entirely his center fielder's fault. O'Neal Cruz, not a big league center fielder. I don't know where you can play him, but it can't be there. I thought it was obvious last year. Already regretting my pick of the Pirates to go to the playoffs. If they're going to do that all year, they're going to have the worst outfield defense in baseball. 1,000% of that. Paul Skeens' earned runs should all have been charged to O'Neal Cruz. That should be O'Neal Cruz's ERA. That was so bad. That was an exhibition of defensive play in center field. It was truly appalling. That game, by the way, has just become our first final of the day. The Mets beating the Pirates. Brewers up big on the White Sox. That game 11-1 after 6. Jacob Mizorowski having no problem with a White Sox lineup running out some guys. I'll be honest with you, I ain't never heard of. The Nationals up 8-3 on the Cubs in the 580 Sports Talk Bowl. Spencer Dupuis doing a little bit of peacocking around the studio this afternoon as the Nationals no-name lineup pounded Matt Boyd of the Cubs. It's a little bit funny. So Joey Wiemer, you guys remember Joey Wiemer? Why would you remember Joey Wiemer? Joey Wiemer came over in the Jonathan India trade last year. He was the other player in the trade. The Royals got both Wiemer and Jonathan India from the Reds in exchange for Brady Singer. Anyway, Joey Wiemer's whole thing is that he strikes out a lot, like probably too much to be a big leaguer. There's a reason the Royals never called him up. All the problems they had on offense in their outfield last year, and they never gave Joey Wiemer a sniff. He didn't earn one. Joey Wiemer was batting 5th for the Nationals on opening day. And wouldn't you know, he had a home run. That's the other thing he can do when he makes contact, which he does pretty infrequently. But he helped the Nationals today. They're up 8-3. That game is in stretch time at Wrigley Field. Twins and Orioles deadlocked at 0, bottom of the 5th. Red Sox and Reds are just underway, scoreless. Angels and Astros just underway, scoreless. Phillies out to a 2-0 lead on the Rangers. That game in the bottom of the 1st. Kyle Schwarber has hit run homer. I don't know if I gave you Red Sox. That game scoreless. Tampa Bay St. Louis just started. That game is scoreless there in the 1st. Tigers put up a 4 spot in the 1st on San Diego starter Nick Pivetta, thanks in large part to 3 walks and a 2-run double by my Rookie of the Year pick, Kevin McGonigal, in his first big league at bat. So Tigers lead that one 4-0. Padres have runners at the corners on Skubal with 2 out in the bottom of the 1st there. Did y'all watch the Netflix game last night? Yankees beat the Giants 7-0. The Giants are going to stink. They hired their manager right out of college. They hired Tennessee coach Tony Vitello to be their manager. I don't like him, and I think he's going to flop like spectacularly. Like he'll go crawling back to the SEC in 2 years. I think it's a disaster hire by the Giants to think they can hire a guy straight out of college and he's got anything to say to pro baseball players. I don't like the Giants. You guys haven't ever picked up on that. Not a big fan of them. But I was very satisfied to see that team be very fundamentally unsound and appear to be poorly coached, because I think they are, because I don't think Tony Vitello's cut out for this. Anyway, the game was on Netflix. And speaking of not cut out for this, I don't ever want to watch another Netflix baseball broadcast ever again. That was so bad. Can one of you explain to me? I don't feel like I'm that old and out of touch. Can somebody explain Bert Kreischer to me? Like, who asked for that? What's cool about him? What is cool about Bert Kreischer? Why do I need to see him yelling at me 20 minutes before first pitch about this is baseball? Like, yeah, no duh, dude. It's what I turn on a game for. I know what I'm watching. At least he had a shirt on. Give him credit for that. But like, who asked for that? Who asked for Jay Uso to say play ball? Who asked for a full inning interview with Jameis Winston? Who asked for the softest softball interview in the world with Commissioner Manfred? That was a disgrace. That was a total disgrace. And I called it on the show yesterday. I said, that broadcast is not going to be for anybody who actually likes baseball. And it wasn't. So, I don't know. I thought that was a train wreck and a half. And I'm not eager to watch any more live baseball on Netflix. Not if they're going to present it like an advertisement for Netflix featuring baseball, because that's what that was. I felt like a 4-hour advertisement for Netflix. I'll say this, though. If they could get some Bridgerton and Virgin River cast members on the broadcast when they do the Home Run Derby, I bet my wife would watch it with me. She likes those shows. I could get my wife to watch it with me if they had, like, the lead from Virgin River or the leads from Bridgerton on the thing. If they're just going to use it to hawk their own TV shows, may as well do shows that my wife likes so we can sit down and watch baseball together. That was bad. And the game was worse. So, yeah, great way to start the season. Only opening day we recognize is the day everybody opens. If they would just do that. Rick Peterson, TopSports.news, going to join us next for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, where he covers all things Shawnee County High School sports and Washburn University athletics. Make TopSports.news a daily visit to keep track on all of the sports going around right here. He joins us every Thursday at this time for the local sports spotlight. And, boy, no rest, Pistol. The bat and ball sports already underway around this part.
They sure are, yeah. It didn't. They had spring break last week and started back hot and heavy this week.
So let's start there. Let's maybe get a look at some of the area teams, some of the things that we'll be watching for. We'll start with baseball, where certainly you have these standard bearing programs, Seaman, Shawnee Heights, Washburn Rural, that tend to typically be excellent. What is their outlook for this year, and who else in the county could put forth some fine seasons?
Well, you can't forget Hayden.
Oh, of course.
Hayden,
State
Hayden
champs 2 years ago. That's my bad.
Yeah, Hayden was the most recent state champ. So, but those are ones, and then High's had some success here lately under Cody Miller, made it to state a couple of times, and Silver Lake and Rossville are always competitive in whatever sport they play. So I think we'll know a lot more here in about, a couple weeks after everybody gets in their full schedules and starts league play. But those are the ones that, you start with.
Yeah, you'll certainly put out your players to watch at TopSports.news. But who's a player or two in particular that you're really fascinated to get out and see in the area this year?
Well, I think Washburn Rural has some good players. Zach Ainsley is a very good pitcher. The Brewer kid, for Axton Brewer from Siemens, a very good pitcher, and there's nobody, there's nobody that immediately comes to mind like a Ryan Zufferjohn or anybody like that. But I think it's going to be a pretty even year, and I think there's some good talent.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is our guest here. It's a local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. Switching over to the softball diamond pistol. Who do we have our eye on in softball this season in the county?
Well, Shawnee Heights already got off to a good start yesterday. They opened UKC with a doubleheader sweep over DeSoto, and they were a state tournament team last year. Siemens been very good. They were a state tournament team last year. Washburn Rural's a 6A runner-up and been very, very good. Haven't missed a beat. Hayden will be an interesting team to watch. Carvel Reynoldson's come back as the softball coach at Hayden, and they've got some really good athletes over there. And it'll be interesting to see what the Wildcats could do.
In girls soccer, it's another sport that's already underway, and we followed last year, or earlier rather this year, I guess technically it was last calendar year. The Renaissance at Topeka West boys soccer had a terrific year in the United Kansas Conference. Looks like the girls are aiming for something similar. They've got a lot of new pieces, including standout transfer from Highland Park, Micah Williams, the Northern Iowa commit. What are the chances that that team, who started with a quality win in their first game, can maybe match the efforts of their boys and put together a really good season in Charger soccer?
I think we need to wait and see on that. Obviously, Mike is a good addition, and they got some good ones. But I think I put out my players to watch, and you always start when you start that. You start with the two that challenged for state titles last year. I mean, Washburn Rural won the 6A title, and Hayden went double overtime with perennial champion Bishop Miege in 4A, 1A, and I think both of those teams are going to be good again.
Yeah, I was about to ask about Washburn Rural, the defending state champions. Lost a lot from last year's team. What do they have back that gives rise to a belief that they can make a similar run this year?
Well, they always have good kids, and some of them have to wait their turn, and I think that'll be the case this year. Dane Shriver's a very good player, and they got some other really good players that are already getting college interest, and Coach Ensel's as good as there is. Klaus Kreutzer's as good as there is at Hayden, and I don't think either one of those programs will miss a beat.
Rick Peterson joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We do this every Thursday at this time, blaze a trail through the high school and Washburn University sports landscape. I was looking at your Shawnee County girls swimmers to watch list, Pistol, and a lot of different schools were recognized in your swimmers to watch. There seems to be a lot of programs, maybe if they don't have a lot of depth, it feels like a lot of the programs around here at least have somebody who's a top line, a potential state qualifier, somebody who can make a little noise in the pool this spring.
Yeah, and we'll know. I'll know a little more about that in about 3 hours. I'm heading down to the first meet today, and I think we'll do. Audrey Aprons of Washburn Royals, a returning multi-time state medalist, and you got some kids like that, and then Shawnee Heights has a couple of good ones. Seaman, it's going to be. I think we'll know a lot more here in a couple of weeks. The thing about swimming is they all kind of go up against each other. So we'll know who has the best teams here when they get a couple of meets in. And like I said, I'll know a little more after I go to the meet down at Cap Fed today.
You've also got your list of boys tennis players to watch for this coming spring season. And no surprise there, Pistol. A lot of junior blues highlighting that list.
Yes, and they were really good last year. Dylan Willingham's maybe no more for soccer, but he's he's a 3-time state medalist in tennis, and he'll be really good again, usually plays doubles. And, you got Trace Lassiter of Topeka High, who was the city champ last year in #1 singles. I don't know if we got anybody that's necessarily going to challenge for a team title this year, but they're going to be definitely some medal possibilities.
Our guest is Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. This is the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. So that's a little bit of a look ahead, but let's take a look back. You've published now at TopSports.news both of the all Shawnee County girls and boys basketball teams. And it's a fun exercise to kind of do along with you, Pistol. I always try and pick my 10 and see how well it matches up with yours. And we were virtually in lockstep this year, Pistol, though that was not an easy thing. I want to ask you about the boys side first. Even with 10 spots to put on your all Shawnee County boys basketball team, how difficult was it to get it down to 10 this year? Because I had a hard time.
Yeah, it's very hard. And my kind of tiebreaker is is team success. And we had a lot of team success this year. So that kind of, obviously Kayvon Bonner and some of those were just really, easy picks. But it was hard. And I told you this before. I hate this. I don't like this. I know I need to do it, and I know that the kids deserve to have me do it, but I just don't like it. I always feel like there's somebody that gets left out. And I kind of lay awake at night sometimes thinking, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? So I'm always glad when it's out. And like I said, there's always going to be somebody that I feel bad about, but it's a good list.
Co-players of the year for boys basketball this year: Kayvon Bonner of Seaman, Dane Johnson for Silver Lake. Saw a lot of both of them this year, both outstanding players who had tremendous careers at their respective schools. I know you have not always liked to do ties and co-players of the year, but what made you decide that those two were both worthy of that distinction?
In that case, Kayvon was easy, and then Dane had such a good career, back-to-back third-place finishes in 3A, broke Lon Kruger's career scoring mark. I just didn't feel good about leaving either one of those guys out. And you're right. I hate doing but sometimes I feel like I need to. I did co-coaches. Again, both those coaches led their teams to 12 win improvements over the previous year. And I didn't really feel good picking between them.
Yeah, both Robbie Sanders of Topeka High and Chip Kiefer of Cara Paravel, 12 win improvements, both played in a sub-state championship game. Yeah, the accomplishments were so very similar. I think you did the right thing, Pistol. I side with you on both of those decisions. There was one All Shawnee County Girls Basketball Player of the Year. Kaylin Haney, senior point guard at Silver Lake, highlighting your girls All Shawnee County team. And I can tell you this, I've gotten to see quite a bit of her the last 3 years. She's as good, regardless of class, as I think I have ever seen.
Well, the thing is with that, and there were some good players that could have been Player of the Year, but, she was in 3 straight 3A state championship games, won 2 of them, including this year, and she was the engine that made them go. And I really, really thought she was a great player, and I think she's going to have a great career at Fort Hays State.
Newcomers of the year this year were both freshmen. Sometimes that's not always the case. You get a kid who, maybe rises up from the JV, or somebody who transfers into a district, transfers into a school. But both of the newcomers of the year this year on the boys and the girls side were freshmen. Quincy Dixon at Shawnee Heights on the boys side, Brent Anderson at Washburn Rural over on the girls side. 2 really exciting talents, Pistol.
I feel good. I feel good about both of those. I think there were a lot of times that Quincy Dixon was Heights' best player, right out of the gate as a freshman. And then there was little doubt that Brent Anderson was Rural's best player, and also was a great, great player in volleyball. So those were picks I felt good about.
And then the coaches of the year, you kind of got to go co-coaches when you've got 2 who win state championships in the county. I don't think anybody's going to fight you over splitting the hairs between Kyle Porter and Carville Reynolds, and both of whom were able to guide their teams to state championships. Yeah,
there may be a lot of years where I won't have any co's, but it was just this year. It was just so tough and like you said, when both teams win state titles, who are you going to pick? It was just, maybe I took the easy way out, but okay, I did.
No, I think you honored the people that deserve to be honored, Rick Peterson, is what I'll say about that. Go read them. They're at TopSports.news, and they are the All Shawnee County boys and girls basketball teams. That's one of my favorite things to read and discuss with Rick Peterson all year long. And, of course, keep visiting TopSports.news throughout the spring sports season. There'll be plenty on Shawnee County High School athletics and Washburn University athletics. And Pistol will join us every Thursday as we go on through the season for the local sports spotlight. Pistol, enjoy the pool till later this evening, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'll look forward to it.
That is Rick Peterson. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Thanks again to Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for joining us for the Local Sports Spotlight. Local Sports Spotlight doesn't go away when football and basketball go away. We got a whole spring sports season to get to. Baseball, softball, track. Pistol loves track. We'll get plenty from him on track. Golf, soccer, swimming, tennis. If I forgot anything, I'm sorry. But lots of great stuff still to come with Rick Peterson on Thursdays. Obviously, there are some Royals day games that are going to throw the schedule into flux a little bit as we get into April and May. But as often as we can have him, Pistol's going to join us, and we're going to keep talking Shawnee County High School sports and Washburn-Ichabod athletics. It's one day to Royals opening day. The number one in Royals history has been worn by a Cookie, a Buddy, a Bip, and a Gookie. Remember Gookie Dawkins? You probably don't. He wasn't on the team very long. But yeah, Gookie Dawkins. If you look him up now, he goes by Travis. He didn't like the nickname, I guess. But Cookie, Gookie, Buddy, and Bip have all worn number one for the Royals. No number one on the roster this year. MJ Melendez, of course, wore it last. Joe Foy wore it first back in 1969, utility man on the expansion Royals. That's the end of the countdown because tomorrow's 0 days till opening day. I guess we could do number zeros, but Starling Marte's wearing that this year. But tomorrow, it's opening day for the Royals for real. But in the next hour, we're going to talk some spring football as well as what does KU basketball need to improve, regardless of who's coaching next year. That's on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday. Happy observed opening day, one and all. We are now 26 hours. I subtracted instead of added. Bad math, fuzzy math. 26 hours to opening day for the Kansas City Royals. Does not appear that they're going to open up in first place. The Tigers have raced out to a 6-0 lead over the Padres after 3 innings in San Diego today. They will be ahead of the White Sox in the standings. Oh, might be another long year in the South Side. 14-1 Brewers over the White Sox in the bottom of the 8th inning. Hell knows. That's not how you want to start your season. On the wrong end of a 14-1. That's tough. Anyhow, I am Dan Lucero. This is 580 Sports Talk on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk and WIBW News on Facebook. 580 Sports Talk's on YouTube, of course. You can join us on YouTube in the live chat. We appreciate those of you who drop in and participate in the live chat throughout the show. You can also text the program. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Still to come on the program today, we're going to talk a little spring football. It's in full swing. We have now heard from Colin Klein and from Lance Leipold, as both head coaches in Manhattan and Lawrence have held their first press conferences, media availability of the spring. K-State had their press conference yesterday. KU had their first portion of practice open to the media, and subsequent press conference with Lance Leipold today. And we'll be hearing more as the next couple of weeks go by from assistant coaches, maybe some players with both programs as well. But we've heard from the coaches, the head coaches. And I got one big question for both programs. One thing that I'll be very curious to follow as spring goes along. So that's coming up on the show. We're going to talk some Sweet 16. That's coming up tonight right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Starting at 6 o'clock with a short pregame, then right into the action, a 6:10 tip-off of the first game of the night between Texas and Purdue. 4 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow. We'll preview tonight's games, give you some thoughts on the matchups, who I expect to win them. Not, who'd I pick before the bracket came out? Because I'd be lying to you if I thought Iowa and Nebraska were going to play in the Sweet 16. I think I had both teams losing in the first round. In fact, that bad job by me. I would play Clemson. Hand up on this. I'm always going to pick Clemson to win one more game than they probably ought to in the NCAA tournament, because their head coach, like me, is a graduate of DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana. Brad Brownell is a DePauw man. So I'm going to ride with Brad Brownell even when I shouldn't, especially when I shouldn't sometimes, because I should not have, because he was going up against Ben McCollum. And I am very intimately familiar with the work of Ben McCollum, and should have known they were going to have something for Clemson. I don't think I would have picked Iowa to beat Florida. I don't think anybody was picking Iowa to beat Florida, but here they are in the Sweet 16. So we'll get to some thoughts on those Sweet 16 games. We got headlines. What is wrong with you still to come? I might do a baseball-themed AMA in the 5 o'clock hour if we get some time. I'll take your baseball questions. I'll take them about this season. I'll take them about the Royals. I'll take them about whatever team you want to ask about, whatever, as long as it's baseball related. You want to ask me what my favorite baseball movie is? I might do that if we get some time in the 5 o'clock hour, just to celebrate. I'm in the spirit. It's opening day. I'm feeling good, feeling more alive with baseball back. Maybe you feel the same. If you do, we're kindred spirits here on 580 Sports Talk. Speaking of other opening day action, mentioned how it's going for teams in the American League Central so far today. The one game that has gone final, the Mets defeated the Pirates 11-7 earlier today. That one was on NBC. Paul Skeens didn't make it out of the first inning. O'Neal Cruz, they should have played circus music every time the ball was hit to him in center field. The Brewers are beating the White Sox. That game is in the top of the ninth inning, 14-1 Brewers. Nationals up, doubling up the Cubs, 8-4. They're in the top of the ninth at Wrigley. Orioles have opened up a 2-0 lead on the Twins. My pick to win the American League pennant. The O's get 7 shutout innings from Trevor Rogers, who I think I got his name completely wrong on the show yesterday. I think I at first called him Tyler Rogers and then corrected myself. No, I'm sorry. I mean Taylor Rogers. No, wrong. Those two are not related to Trevor Rogers. They are Tyler and Trevor, or no, Tyler and Taylor. They are related to each other. They are twins, in fact. And they're from Colorado. They went to Chatfield High School there in Littleton. Anyhow, this is not a third Rogers brother. Trevor Rogers was the starter for the Orioles today. 7 shutout innings against that anemic Twins offense. That game in the top of the 8th in Baltimore, a 2-0 Orioles lead. They're in the 5th in Cincinnati. Remember when the Reds used to play the first game of the year every year? Just that was tradition. Season started in Cincinnati. Yeah, I guess, who needs tradition when Netflix is willing to pay millions of dollars to foist Bert Kreischer upon us before we can start the Major League Baseball season. Anyhow, the Red Sox and the Reds in Cincinnati. That game scoreless in the 5th. Andrew Abbott and Garrett Crochet having a bit of a pitcher's duel. Abbott sort of tap dancing through raindrops, staying dry. He's allowed 6 hits in 4 1/3, but the Red Sox have yet to score. Only 1 hit in 4 innings for the Reds. Scoreless in the top of the 4th between the Angels and the Astros. I mentioned Tigers 6, Padres nothing. That game through 3.5. Phillies got an early Kyle Schwarber home run. They lead the Rangers 2-0. Cardinals 1-0 over the Rays in the top of the 4th. See, isn't day baseball so great? We can just update a bunch of scores, talk about what's going on, talk a little baseball. Who got the run for the Cardinals? I'm wondering. Not a great lineup for them. My National League Rookie of the Year pick, J.J. Weatherholt, with his first big league home run in his big league debut. How about that? I was dropping gems on you guys in my predictions yesterday. Gems, I tell you. Anyway, that game is tied now. It appears that a gentleman named Carson Williams has hit a home run for the Rays to tie that game at 1 in the top of the 4th. See, day baseball is as God intended it. Every game should be a day game. Not every. I realize you can't play like day baseball in. They got a roof now in Arlington, but you really couldn't play like day baseball in Kansas City 81 times. There are parts of the Midwest you really couldn't really do it. I understand, but I just love day baseball. I love opening day. I'm excited. Puts a hop in my step. Maybe it puts one in yours. But I wanted to talk about basketball today because I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I'm going to level with you. I still think there's half a chance that before the Final Four concludes, we're going to do a show. Maybe half a chance is overselling it. It definitely overselling it. I want to be very clear. I don't have any insider info, and I'm not being coy. But there is a chance, I believe a chance exists, that we are doing a Bill Self Retires show at some point in the next little bit. I think that's a possibility. How realistic is it? Don't ask me to put a number on it. I couldn't. But it would not surprise me given both the facts of Bill Self's health and the non-committal way in which he answered a question about his future following Kansas's loss to St. John's and elimination from the NCAA tournament on Sunday in San Diego. It is a possible outcome here. But whoever's coaching Kansas next year, whether it's Bill Self or Jacques Vaughn or Tommy Lloyd or TJ Otzelberger or Roy Williams or me or you, doesn't matter. Kansas isn't winning in the NCAA tournament, and they're not winning Big 12 championships because 3 specific things have not come into fruition for their teams since the national championship team. Bill Self is never not intentional about the way he builds his teams. He understands where his teams are weak and understands where his teams have to get better year over year. Go back to the time frame after Kansas went to the Final Four in 2018. I know the NCAA says that never happened, but we were alive for it. We saw it. I was in the Alamo Dome. I watched Villanova make 39 three-pointers in the first 5 minutes of that game. That was a Final Four game. Kansas played in it. I was there. I know what the record says. I know the banner came down. Kansas made the Final Four in 2018. After that, they lost by about 1 billion points to Auburn in the second round in 2019. Obviously, there was no tournament in 2020. 2021, they lost by 1 billion points to USC in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And those two second-round losses made it clear that Kansas was working with a lesser class of athletes than the teams that beat them. And Bill Self said as much. He will always tell you. Bill Self doesn't really obfuscate much. He doesn't blow a lot of smoke. He will tell you exactly what's up. You don't have to read a lot of tea leaves with him. Bill Self talked, especially after the USC loss in 2021, about his team needing to be more athletic. And the 2022 team was more athletic. They had 3 NBA players on the wing on that team. You had Ochai Agbaji, Jalen Wilson, Christian Brown. 3 established NBA guys with NBA size and athleticism on the wing. Of course, they win the national championship that year. They caught some breaks along the way that teams the last 4 years have not necessarily caught. They played Villanova without their best player. They played a 10 seed in the Elite Eight. Believe Miami was a 10 seed. They played Creighton without Creighton's best defensive player, Ryan Kalkbrenner, who would have been a matchup problem for that KU team. They caught some breaks along the way. Usually, champions do. That's nothing to be ashamed of. And then put an asterisk on the championship. But that was a team that, it was not a perfect team, but they did address their athleticism deficiency, and it led to a national championship. You know what else they did in 2022? They shot the 3 decently well. Not great, not at an elite level. Certainly not as good as the 2018 team that went to the Final Four. That was a 40% three-point shooting team in 2018 with Frank and Devontae and, well, not Frank, Devontae and Svi and, who am I forgetting? Malik Newman. They were a 40% three-point shooting team in 2018. They shot 36% from 3 in 2022. And that wasn't a huge upgrade over the 34% they'd shot in 2021, but it was a meaningful upgrade. And they won it all. And then in 2023, they weren't as good shooting the 3. They're back down to 35%. And that was a roster that was a bit flawed constructually because KJ Adams was the team's starting center. But you still had, 2 NBA guys, Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick. And that was a team that was good enough to make a run. Bill Self had his heart issue. And the end result of that was they lost in the second round of the tournament, where I think if Norm Roberts had been not on the sideline for that Arkansas game and Bill Self had been, I think they probably at least get to the Sweet 16 that year. But anyway, 2024, that Kansas team that lost in the second round of the tournament to Gonzaga, that lost its best player, Kevin McCullough, to injury. I'm told my car alarm is going off. That's why you hear me a little bit disjointed right now in studio. Must accidentally hit that in the keys in my pocket. Anyway, I think we're good now. We're good. Okay, great. Anyway, 2024. KU loses to Gonzaga in the second round. Kevin McCullough gets hurt, doesn't play in the tournament. That team shot 33% from 3. 2025, 35% from 3. 2026, this year, Kansas shot 35% from 3. There's one thing that Kansas has to address moving forward. They have got to be a better three-point shooting team. It is 2026. The three-point shot is a weapon. And I think you can say that for a time, Bill Self's double big offense was a little resistant to adding a whole bunch of shooters, that they were not a team that had great shooting but could survive that anyway because it was a different game. It was just a different era. It's a different game. But now, if you're shooting the three at 35%, you're well below average. That's not good enough. It doesn't give you enough space to operate, no matter how skilled your guards might be, no matter how quick they might be off the dribble. You don't have space, it's hard to score. You know what gives you space? Shooters. Guys you have to guard on the perimeter. And I don't think this has been entirely for a lack of trying to find shooting. The players that have been brought to the program in recent memory to add three-point shooting specifically either were actually bad, like Nick Timberlake, or they weren't trusted, like Jaden Dawson this year. Dawson was brought in. He was a guy near 40%. He was a guy who was supposed to add some of that spacing. Never got off the bench. Cole Rosario was supposed to add that kind of shooting. Didn't quite work out. Never got into a playing rhythm to where he could find his three-point shot reliably. When was the last time KU had a legit three-point marksman, like a knockdown, catch-and-shoot three-point guy? Grady Dick, right? Back in 2023. And that was a team good enough to get to the second weekend. Before that, Jalen Coleman-Lands was that guy in 2022. He didn't play a ton off the bench, but he played enough to where he got in. He shot about 2 threes a game, and he made 40% of them. That was a weapon. Kansas hasn't had even a Jalen Coleman-Lands caliber shooter or a player that provided even that kind of shooting in limited minutes since the championship team. Kansas has to get better from the three-point arc, has to put a premium on shooters. The other two things that Kansas needs to get better at, if they're going to continue forward, and this is regardless of who the coach is. This is evergreen. This is just Kansas basketball as presently constructed. Not enough shooting, not enough continuity, but that's a college basketball wide problem, right? Like all you can do there is your best. That's harder than ever to grow in the portal NIL era, which is why I don't agree with the calls for, just run everybody off in the portal, get a brand new roster. Maybe bring Cole Rosario back because he had 7 good minutes in the loss to St. John's. Everybody else can go. I don't think that's how you build a roster. I think you should want to bring guys back. By the way, I don't think Cole Rosario is going to be one that comes back. I'm iffy on that. But like, you should want guys who are program guys who develop within your program who ideally can help you, even if it's just off the bench. Hold that thought for a moment. The Elmarco Jacksons, the Jamari McDowells, Paul Mbias, you should want to bring those guys back if you're KU. You should hope Flory Badunga comes back for a junior year. If he doesn't, that's probably because he's going to go play in the NBA, and that's good for him. And you don't stand in the way of that. You should want to bring Bryson Tiller back and see what he can become as a sophomore. You should really want to bring him back. Continuity matters. Having guys who know how to play together matters. Having guys for whom the name on the front of the jersey matters. And while it's great that Kansas could bring in a guy like Melvin Council, who did play for the name on the front of the jersey in his lone year at KU, you don't always get that with guys in the portal. You need guys who are going to develop and grow and build that rapport with the program, with the fans. Continuity is important, and there are no guarantees, but it's worth trying to cultivate. So Kansas needs to cultivate continuity, and they have got to get more shooting on the floor. What's the last thing they need to do? Let me put it to you this way. How many times have we gone into a season, the last 4 or 5 years for Kansas, and felt as the season was about to tip off, boy, this Kansas team could go about 9 or 10 deep. They got down 9 or 10 playable guys. And then by February 1st, it's, they got 6. 6 and a possible, depending on the matchup. And then one break glass in case of emergency guy if there's foul trouble. The depth never materializes. You at least have to have some guys who come off the bench and make sure you don't lose the minutes when your starting five isn't on the floor. That was the big problem for the 2024 team in particular. Like that starting five with McCullough and Dickinson and Adams and Harris and Furphy. That was a good starting five by the end of the year. You took any one of those guys off the floor, that lineup couldn't do anything. The team couldn't do anything. You can't lose the minutes where you're not playing your first five together. That doesn't mean you need every bench guy to be Remy Martin, which, again, last time KU had a microwave scorer off the bench, they won a national championship. Not a coincidence. You don't have to have a microwave scorer coming off the bench, but you do have to bring some kind of above average ability to the table, whether it's Marcus Garrett's defense or the ability for Silvio De Sousa to credibly guard any position on the floor or Jalen Coleman-Land's knockdown shooting. Something like that. And it's no coincidence. Again, I'm naming guys who came off the bench for teams that did go to the Final Four, that did win a national championship. And some of that is going to have to be for whoever is on the sideline next year. You're just going to have to ride it out with some guys. You're going to have to live with some valleys so that hopefully you get some peaks in March. KJ Adams couldn't do a lot as a freshman. He played 37 games on the championship team in 2022 because there was something that he could offer athletically, defensively, rebounding. There was that promise of KJ Adams. He ended up developing into, if not a great player, a really good program player at Kansas. The 2018 team, when they got Silvio De Sousa eligible, insert joke here, they were willing to live with his youth and live with his shortcomings because he gave them something. This 2026 Kansas team was not willing to live with growth for Cole Rosario, was not willing to see if something could be developed with Jaden Dawson, was not willing to see if Paul Mbia could play, even for 4 or 5 minutes at a time, 6 minutes here, 10 minutes there, against the dregs of the schedule. Maybe that's an argument for lightening the preseason schedule load. Maybe trading one high-profile game for one more game against one more bye game to give your 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guys some minutes together and a chance to build some confidence. But that's another conversation for another day. And it's hard to recruit those guys, by the way. The guys I just mentioned, those were recruits, right? Those were freshmen. Those were recruits. It's hard to get depth in the portal. Chances are the quality depth you're going to have to develop is going to have to come from your true freshmen or your redshirt freshmen or your program guys, Elmarco Jackson, Jamari McDowell, Cole Rosario. But you got to be able to trust those guys and live with some valleys on the off chance you might get the peaks at the right time. And I have felt that there were times that Bill Self was not as willing to do that as he should have been. But I also feel like that's one of those things you see in hindsight a lot clearer than you see as it's happening. And some of that, of course, will always have to do with the things we don't see in practice. But this team had shortcomings, and that's why they're not still playing this weekend. They were good enough to make the Sweet 16, and they didn't. One more shot that they had made, one more good bounce or bad bounce for St. John's, and they're playing tomorrow and not St. John's. So it's not as though, again, Kansas is a programming crisis. But 4 straight years missing the second weekend feels like a crisis for Kansas. How do you get out of it? You have to shoot the three better. Modernize the offense in that way. You have to find a way to develop some continuity on your roster. And you've got to find a way to get some contributions from outside your starting five. Even if it's a guy who can only do one thing well. Embrace that. Jalen Coleman-Lands couldn't guard. Jalen Coleman-Lands wasn't out there to rebound. Jalen Coleman-Lands shot 40+% from three, and he had a place off the bench for a national championship team. They don't all have to be perfect. You have to live with the imperfections. You have to live with the blemishes if you're going to build a winner. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we're going to do What Is Wrong With You. It's our final competition day of the month, which means we're going to pick our weekly champion for this week after this break on 580 Sports Talk. It's time for What Is Wrong With You. Two new stories competing today. Spencer Dupuis is here. Hi, Spencer.
Hi, I just want to say that I my team clinched the first 580 Sports Talk Bowl of the year for baseball.
Did they? Is not a...
The Nats won 10-4 over the Cubs.
But it's a 3-game series, right?
In the first game of the year, though.
Yes, but it's a 3-game series, right?
Yes, but you got to win one to win them all.
Yes, you can't win them all. Can't go 162-0 without going 1-0. That is correct.
Sorry, just probably the one time I'll be able to say it. That's why.
No, that's what the final ended up being, 8-4?
10-4.
10-4. Oh,
Brady House hit a homer at the end.
Put a couple more on the on that Cubby bullpen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got What Is Wrong With You here. 2 new stories competing today. Our current weekly champion, our Monday winner, the maintenance worker at the property in Bloomingdale, Illinois, who was caught on surveillance camera peeing in a guy's kitchen sink. He was there to fix the washing machine. Nature called, and he decided to relieve himself in the kitchen sink.
Not the toilet. That was probably 30 feet away.
Not a toilet. Not even like the bathroom sink. I wouldn't be real fond of somebody doing that in my bathroom sink either, but at least that's the bathroom sink. I don't wash my produce in the bathroom sink. I don't wash my grapes in the bathroom sink. I want the kitchen sink to remain for kitchen activities and not peed upon, micturated upon. Anyhow, that's our current weekly champion. 2 new stories today. Spencer, what you got?
Yeah, we're going to go to Daytona Beach, Florida. A Florida man who deputies say was drunk allegedly crashed through a gate at Daytona Beach International Airport and attempted to board a running plane. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office identified the man as 58-year-old Brian J. Parker, who told deputies he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol and could not recall what led to the incident. The Sheriff's Office says on Wednesday at about 4:25 p.m., deputies were notified that a blue Ford Mustang had crashed through a gate at the airport. Upon arrival, deputies found the gate destroyed and lying on the ground. The incident also prompted a response from the FBI because, you're on an airport and that's what happens. Personnel at the scene said the Mustang crashed through the gate and headed through the Embry-Riddle section of the airport. VCSO deputies say by the time they arrived, Parker had already been detained by airport operations and the security. Witnesses say they saw Parker drive onto the taxiway in his blue Mustang, nearly strike an Embry-Riddle plane that was taxiing. VCSO says he then got out of the vehicle and tried to enter the occupied plane, but was unsuccessful. He wasn't done. He then ran to another aircraft while an aircraft technician chased him down. Deputies say Parker was pulled out of the plane and seated on a truck's tailgate. Parker then jumped off the tailgate and ran towards another plane before he was once again apprehended and placed in handcuffs. He now faces multiple charges.
Acting like a toddler. Just sit down. No, I'm taking off. I want to get on an airplane.
And then why did you do this? Because I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Very, very drunk and high. I like how the first line says deputies say was drunk, and the second line was Parker told deputies he was drunk and also high. Like, yeah, I think we have collaboration on that particular detail of the story. Yeah, man, that's terrifying. You can't just run up on an airport.
No.
Like, that's never been cool. That's especially not been cool like the entirety of the 21st century for reasons. Yeah, you can't run up on an airport, man. I don't care how drunk or high you are. All right, my story today, we meet the I-5 flasher. This guy has been a problem for over a decade now in Seattle, and he's still out there, and he is also out there. A man with a history of public indecency was arrested again last week for what the story refers to as pleasuring himself while driving on I-5 in Oregon. Oregon State Police responded to the reports as a man was driving on I-5 near the Woodburn exit. A woman reported that the suspect's vehicle stood out because it displayed a Seahawks emblem and a University of Washington emblem near the license plate. Go Hawks. The woman said she drove past the car, saw a man holding a cell phone that had a naked woman on it, and with his other hand, he was holding something else. 56-year-old Charles McDonald Porter drove aside the woman, rolled down his window, and proceeded to put on a performance within her view. A trooper later initiated a traffic stop. Porter consented to a search of his phone, which revealed an image of a naked woman. He was arraigned March 18th on a charge of public indecency and posted bail. A Washington Department of Corrections spokesperson confirmed that Porter was on probation for 2 years from 2010 to 2012 for indecent exposure. At the time of his arrest in 2010, he was known in the area as the I-5 flasher. So this guy's got a rep that goes back a decade and a half, and it goes further than that. He had indecent exposure convictions in Texas in 1999 and 2000.
Wow.
It is time to put this man under a jail somewhere.
Yeah.
Clearly, he cannot contain himself or contain himself. The I-5 flasher. Who we got today?
The I-5 flasher.
I got to go. Sometimes the question is like, okay, who's really the what is wrong with you? Is it like the subject of the story, or is it everything that allowed for the subject of the story to do the dumb, ridiculous, horrifying thing that he has done? What is wrong with you, authorities in the state of Washington?
Yeah.
Keep this man off the road. I don't know what you got to do. Like, chain his pants to his waist. I don't know how that works in theory. I don't know, man. Got to do something. Got to do something about the I-5 flasher. I do think he wins today. I do not think he beats the guy who peed in somebody's kitchen sink.
No, definitely doesn't.
There's a Simpsons line for everything. When Homer Simpson was singing along to the tune of the song "Tub Thumping" by Chumbawamba. Are you familiar?
No.
He takes the whiskey drink. He takes the vodka drink. And Homer sings, and when I gotta pee, I use the kitchen sink. No, Homer. If you were exhibiting Homer Simpson behavior in real life, you're messing up.
Yeah.
You're messing up. That's our weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll have the semifinals tomorrow.
Already the end of the month.
Already the end of the month. We got semifinals tomorrow for What Is Wrong With You. Thanks, Spencer.
Yep.
We'll come back after this with some big questions for spring football for KU and K-State on 580 Sports Talk. .445 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero hanging out with you today. Tigers look good, folks. Tigers look like a problem. 8-0 over the Padres, bottom of the sixth. Kevin McGonigal, 3 for 3 with 2 ribs and 2 runs scored in his big league debut. They got him batting 6th right now. That's not going to be the case for long, I wouldn't imagine. Tarek Skubal, stunningly, working on a 2-hit shutout through 5 1/3. we knew he was good. I think it'll be a fun race this year. I really do. I think it'll be a fun Central with only two teams that are real serious. The White Sox lost 14-2 today. The Twins got the tying run to second with nobody out in the top of the ninth inning against the Orioles, and then promptly the side was struck out and the game was over. Ryan Helsley struck out the side to close it out for the Orioles. Yes, that's Cardinal great Ryan Helsley. He's in Baltimore now. Can't tell the players without a scorecard these days, I'm telling you. Anyhow, lovely day for baseball. Still have a night game coming up tonight, of course. A couple of them, actually. Dodgers and Diamondbacks are on NBC and more network TV baseball tonight. 7:30 first pitch. That's a reasonable time. And then late night for us in Seattle, 9:10 first pitch, Seattle and Cleveland. If you're an MLB TV subscriber like yours truly, maybe dial that one up to round out your baseball day. I'll take some baseball questions coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. It'd be like an AMA, but you can ask me about baseball. You can ask me about this baseball season, predictions for the Royals. You can ask me about my Rockies. You can ask me about my favorite ballpark. You can ask me about my playing career, such as it was. I say my playing career. I feel ridiculous saying that. I played in high school. I played one semester of college baseball. All right. I even make it to the part where they put my face and my bio up on the roster page at the DePaul Athletics website. Okay. That was my career in baseball. The broadcast booth was calling. Hopefully you feel like I made the right decision. But yeah, I'll take your questions about all things baseball related. We'll do a baseball heavy AMA on this opening day coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. I did want to talk some spring football. We've heard now in the last 2 days from Lance Leipold at KU, from Colin Klein at K-State. Spring football is in full swing. And both camps are fascinating this year for what I think are fairly obvious reasons. And so that's the one big question that you come in with, I think, for both the Wildcats and the Jayhawks in the spring of 2026. For K-State, what does the new old school look like in practice? That's the tagline, right? And it's a snappy tagline. It's a catchy one. It's going to sell some T-shirts. Win the dang day, sold some T-shirts. The new old school is going to sell some T-shirts in Manhattan. I like it. I like what it represents. I like the thought process behind it. Now, what does it look like? Colin Klein has talked about wanting to do a lot of padded practices in the spring. Maybe more than his predecessor, maybe more than they've had the chance to do in past years. Get the pads on, work on some fundamentals. Kansas State, I kind of thought fell behind in some ways fundamentally, certainly last season under Chris Klieman. But just broad strokes, what does a Colin Klein camp look like? A lot of padded practices, apparently. What are they working on? Who's going to step forward as your veteran leaders on a team with a brand new head coach and a brand new coaching staff? Speaking of that coaching staff, Jordan Peterson gets to be the defensive coordinator. What does that look like? What does the partnership between Colin Klein and Sean Gleason look like on the offensive side of the ball? Just the whole big picture of a Kansas State football camp, anybody's football camp, run by a first-year head coach. What shape does it take? What things are emphasized? Remember last year with Kansas State, the big emphasis was we have to get more athletic, right? We got to get faster. We got to be a more athletic team. We really got to train our bodies. Physically, we have to be more prepared. Was that the best course of action? Did it get Kansas State ready to start the season appropriately? I mean, the results are the results, right? Those are pretty black and white. But what does this camp look like? What does a Colin Klein spring look like? So far, what we know, pads. More padded practices, which I suppose is old school in its own way. For Kansas, it's just this is a fascinating crossroads for Kansas football. To have gone from being something like a national laughingstock to respectable, bowl-bound, back-to-back years to expectations for more that were summarily not met the last two seasons. And now Kansas faces a possibility that they take another step back in 2026. Avoiding that is going to be critical at this point in time for Kansas football's short-term and long-term outlook. So how is the energy in Lawrence? How's the energy at that KU camp? Back-to-back disappointing seasons, and at least it would seem on paper to be a leadership vacuum, most notably on offense with the loss of effectively a 4-year starter at quarterback. Who are the guys who are going to make this program theirs and decide we are not backsliding any further than we already have? Kansas, at the very least, has to maintain the last 2 years of status quo. Even if this next season looks like 5-7 again, it can't go further backwards. Can't afford it. Now, the Jayhawks return a lot on defense. And I think where you're going to see a lot of that leadership materialize is probably on that defensive side of the ball. But offensively, who's going to own that huddle? Who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Cole Ballard? Is it going to be Zay Marshall? Who's going to be the guy that really takes the reins of that huddle? Is it going to be one of the new players at running back? Is it going to be a veteran offensive lineman? Who are going to be your leaders, your bus drivers for that program to make sure that the standard doesn't slip because the results have the last 2 years? A fascinating point in time, I think, for both programs. And again, for different reasons. K-State starting a new era. Kansas trying to make sure that the era they thought they were beginning doesn't backslide any further than it has with 2 straight missed bowl appearances. One final break this hour. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the 4 o'clock hour. Tee up the final hour this Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. Winding down hour number 2 on 580 Sports Talk. You missed any of the program? It's easy to catch up. Find it on our podcast page, 580wibw.com. Follow us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, for our video archive. Lots of ways you can get caught up with any show, any segment, any guest, any what is wrong with you, any shenanigan you might have missed on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we got Sweet 16 games tonight. In fact, you're going to be able to hear them right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We're going to pass the rock to Westwood One's coverage of the Sweet 16. We have whip around coverage, so no featured game tonight. We're going to let Westwood One decide what game we are going to hear between the 4 that are on, 2 concurrently in each time frame. So we'll start with the first game of the night, which is Purdue, Texas, and go from there. But that coverage starting right at 6 o'clock, so right when we're done here on 580 WIBW. Give you my thoughts on all 4 Sweet 16 games, including my predictions for the outcomes. We got some headlines coming up as well. And because it's opening day, and because I'm your buddy on the radio who loves baseball, we're going to do a baseball-centric Ask Me Anything in the 5 o'clock hour. I will answer your questions if they are baseball related. They can be Royals related. They can be Major League Baseball related. They can be college baseball related. They can be related to me having played the sport. It could be related to baseball in pop culture. Whatever you got. What's my favorite uniform in baseball? Any question you want, as long as it's baseball related. I'm going to take it in the next hour. So get them in on the YouTube live chat, 580 Sports Talk. You can also text the program your Ask Me Anything questions, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. But we are going to start the hour with our 580 Sports Talk headlines, another hire for K-State, and what channel number you can watch the Royals on if you have cable or satellite. We now know. We'll tell you all about it. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. This Royals opening day eve. One more sleep, 25 more hours until the Royals are on the diamond and the games count for real. You'll, of course, hear all the action tomorrow night from Atlanta and all season long right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. 580 Sports Talk also can be heard worldwide online at 580WIBW.com and watched on our viewing channels. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. My name is Dan Lucero, just me here for the final hour of the day. We'll have some fun here on the final hour of today's show. We ought to go home and watch some more baseball, right? On this opening day, we will get to some 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll catch up on the first day of the baseball season, all the action, all the headlines so far, plus a new hire reported for K-State's men's basketball coaching staff, and some other headlines as well from the day. We'll look ahead to tonight's Sweet 16 action. We got 4 games tonight. You'll hear all of the action from Westwood 1 right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll toss it over to Westwood 1's coverage right at the top of this 6 o'clock hour. And a baseball-themed Ask Me Anything to round out the show today. I am looking for your baseball-related questions. As long as it is baseball-related, I will answer it on Ask Me Anything. I've already got one on the text line that I can tell I'm going to be thinking about until we get to the segment. And I'm not sure I have an answer. But the question is a really good one from the 785. Who was the last fun Yankee? That's a good question. And there are some of you who will argue that the list of fun New York Yankees is a null set. And I understand that completely. But no, that is a great question. Who's the last fun Yankee? They don't really do fun. They did winning for a lot of years. That's their stock and trade. Fun, not really how the Yankees get down. That's not really how they operate. They don't do fun. And really, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you were born in 2000, in the fall of 2009 or later, so you could theoretically be a junior in high school, and in your lifetime, the Yankees have never won a World Series. You got to be thinking, yeah, what's the big deal? God, they've only won one pennant in that time frame. What's the big deal? What's so special about those pinstripes? But that's a great question. I'm looking for questions like that. Bring me your baseball questions on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also get them in, of course, on our YouTube chat. Have already been some good ones in there. And I'm looking forward to more on our live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. So that's what we've got lined up for this final hour of the program. Do appreciate you hanging out with me on this Thursday. Let's get into those headlines, shall we? Let's go ahead and start with that K-State headline that I told you about. Looks like there is another addition en route to Casey Alexander's men's basketball staff, and there's another familiar face to him, J.J. Butler, who just spent his first season at Belmont under Alexander, previously played for Alexander when he was the head coach at Lipscomb, is expected to join the K-State staff. Joe Tipton reporting that on his social media channels today. Butler had also been an assistant at Delaware, a Division II head coach at Chestnut Hill College, and also briefly a Division III assistant. Lost the word there for a second. Assistant as well. So J.J. Butler will join Alexander's staff along with Karan Johnson, not Kerryon Johnson. That's a different guy. Karan Johnson, who spent the last 4 years on Belmont staff. He was the program's director of player development. It's also been reported that Sean Ritigliano, who was previously an assistant at both Lipscomb and Belmont under Alexander and spent the last year as a head coach at Division III Colby College in Maine. There are multiple Colby colleges. That's why you got to be specific. And, of course, that doesn't even include Colby Community College in Colby, Kansas. Shout out to the Trojans. Not that one. Colby College in Maine. He was the head coach there last year, and there are multiple reports that Sean Ritigliano will be joining Casey Alexander's staff. The one thing that all of these guys have in common so far, youth. We're talking late 30s, early 40s, relatively young coaching staff, and head coaching experience, even if brief and even if not at the Division I level, head coaching experience for Ritigliano and Butler. And I think that's a positive. I think that's important to have those kinds of voices who aren't just yes men for Casey Alexander. I think we saw what happened with a staff full of yes men at Kansas State in recent years. A staff full of guys who were totally in thrall to Jerome Tang. Now we have guys who, yes, they've worked with Casey Alexander. Some of them even played for him, but have a little bit of experience doing their own thing. And I think that's important. I think that's valuable. So that's the latest with regards to K-State men's basketball. Here's a Royals headline for you. If you are a cable or satellite subscriber, you now know what buttons you got to push into your remote control to find the Royals games. The Royals put out the list of providers that will be carrying the Royals and the respective channel numbers today. If you go to royals.com/watch, you will be taken to that list of ways that you can watch the Royals, not just on cable and satellite, but also via streaming, because whether you are in or out of market, you can purchase the Royals.tv subscription and watch all games streaming all year. And again, that is available to you whether or not you are in the Royals television market or not. But if you are an existing cable subscriber and you were used to watching the Royals on, for the past couple of years, FanDuel Sports Kansas City, turning on your, I'm a Cox subscriber, turning on your Cox box, typing in number 34 and getting the Royals games. Not this year. 78 if you're a Cox subscriber in most areas. There will be parts of Kansas and Nebraska where it is channel 52, but largely, if you are a Cox subscriber in Kansas, within the sound of my voice, it's going to be channel 78 for you. The rest of them are all laid out, like DirecTV's got a channel, Comcast, Xfinity, Charter Spectrum, AT&T Uverse. Also, some of the smaller providers like I think United Services is down in Southwest Kansas, Tri-County Telephone, H&B Communications in Central Kansas. Any provider that was previously offering the Royals on television will continue to offer the Royals on television, just at a new channel. What you might want to do is reset your cable box. If you have a cable box, go to your settings and reset the box, or do a channel seek. You have to do this sometimes. If you have an older Cox box, you have to do the channel seek, and it will find all the channels you're supposed to have, and it will add your new channel, which will be the Royals. So we now know what channel we're going to put the TV on to watch the Royals all summer long. And if you are interested in having more clarity on your own personal situation, again, the website is royals.com/watch. And that is going to answer all your questions with a lot more clarity than I will be able to do. So channel number 78 for me. It's actually kind of cool. I've got a fairly new-ish Cox receiver on my the TV. I would mainly, the living room TV I would mainly turn the Royals game on, and it reset automatically. So I was scrolling the cable lineup, and channel number 78, the logo is just the Royals logo. It stands out. It's very easy to find. That's where the Royals game is. So that question has been answered. That clarity has been provided. We now know where the Royals will be on television. Speaking of baseball, obviously today is opening day. We talked about this at the top of the show. Yesterday was opening day eve, like Christmas Eve. We got to unwrap one present. It was the Yankees and the Giants. It was a big lump of coal, but it was a present that we got to unwrap on opening day eve. Today is opening day. Tomorrow is opening day, Boxing Day. Only a few people observe the day after opening day, including us here. As the Royals open tomorrow against the Braves. Games that have already gone final include the Mets defeating the Pirates 11-7 in Flushing, Milwaukee thrashing the White Sox 14-2. Washington topping the Chicago Cubs 10-4. Baltimore beat Minnesota today 2-1. Other games that are in progress. They are in the 8th inning in Cincinnati. Boston has a slim 1-0 lead. They are in the 8th inning in Philadelphia. The Phillies lead the Rangers 5-0. Excellent outing. 6 innings, 10 strikeouts from my National League Cy Young Award pick, Christopher Sanchez. It was a good day of results that made me look good personally for all my predictions that I gave you on yesterday's show. So I'm going to enjoy that for now before the Orioles go 79-83 and miss the playoffs, and I have them winning the American League. I'm going to enjoy a day like today. They're also in the 8th in San Diego. Detroit comfortably ahead on San Diego 8-2. 6 innings of 1-run ball. The run was unearned, charged to Tarek Skubal in his 2026 debut. Stretch time in Houston. Angels lead the Astros 1-0. Another low-scoring game there. Been a bit of a wild one, a wild 6th inning in St. Louis. The Rays and the Cardinals opening the season at Busch Stadium. Game was tied 1-1 going to the 6th. Tampa Bay scored 6 runs in the top of the 6th, take a 7-1 lead. The Cardinals have countered with 5 runs of their own, or 4 runs of their own in the bottom of the 6th. There's a runner on first. There is still nobody out. And the Cardinals continuing to try to rally back. Rays reliever Ian Seymour appeared to face 5 batters and allow hits to each and every one of them. Seymour, more like I want to see less of that guy. Seymour, I bet the Cardinals wish they could see more of his pitches. Am I right? I'm sorry. That's bad. I'm sorry. Anyhow, 2 games tonight, Dodgers and Diamondbacks, 7:30 p.m. That game nationally televised on NBC. Mariners and Guardians in Seattle to round out opening day. Next headline. Got some more college basketball coaching carousel to tell you about. LSU is just a different place. LSU is just a different place. What a menagerie of coaches they have for their major sports. Will Wade, Mr. Strong Ass Offer himself, is going back to LSU. And this was all consummated while LSU still very much had a men's basketball coach who was employed and under contract, by the way. Even the story at ESPN.com from Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello refers to LSU's clumsy courtship to bring back Coach Will Wade. So, in case you've forgotten the story, maybe you remember there was a big to-do involving the FBI and college basketball, and it was this great big scandal that was going to take down all of the major programs in college basketball and alter the sport forever. And in the end, all that ended up happening is that a bunch of black assistant coaches got thrown in jail, and KU had to take a banner down, and Will Wade lost his job, and that was it, basically. That was pretty much the extent of the damages from that trumped-up FBI investigation. Didn't end up really leading to much of anything. Anyway, Will Wade they caught him on tape. Like, they had him on tape talking about paying players. He was suspended for the 2019 NCAA tournament while he was at LSU, and he later was fired. He reemerged from the wilderness at McNeese, who was hired at McNeese, by the way, by former LSU president Wade Rouse. Wade Rouse was the president of McNeese, hired Will Wade. Wade Rouse is now the president at LSU. And recently hired as the new athletic director at LSU. Remember the whole thing about they didn't have an athletic director because the Brian Kelly thing went sideways, and the governor of Louisiana said, look, I'm not letting Scott Woodward, who was the AD at the time, he's not picking the next coach. I'll let Donald Trump pick the coach before I let Scott Woodward pick another football coach. Well, the writing was on the wall for Scott Woodward. He no longer has a job. The new athletic director at LSU is a gentleman named Heath Schroyer, who was previously athletic director at, you guessed it, McNeese. And he and Will Wade are buddies. Heath Schroyer used to be a college basketball coach. I think he was the head coach at Wyoming, in fact, for a period of time. So they know each other through the coaching ranks. Will Wade, for his part, he was at McNeese very briefly. Last year, he took the job at North Carolina State. He was there for 1 year. And now he's been lured back by LSU. And while LSU was doing all this luring, Matt McMahon was still their head coach. Now, they didn't have any more games to play. They weren't very good this year. They weren't very good under McMahon. He was 60-70 over the last 4 years, including 17-55 in SEC play. They're going to owe McMahon $8 million. That, of course, is in addition to whatever it is that they end up owing Brian Kelly. So that athletic department is paying a lot of money for coaches they don't want to have around anymore. And Will Wade, who was such a bad actor in 2019 that he had to be fired, is being welcomed back to LSU with open arms. And he's going to make about $5 million a year there. That's LSU being LSU. Just being messy. A commitment to messiness in Baton Rouge at every turn. But I do want to say this, though, about Will Wade, who spent 1 year at North Carolina State. They went 19-13 in the regular season, and they lost to Texas in the first four. So they made the tournament. Remember, they spent a lot of money in NIL. They were the ones that lured Darian Williams away from Texas Tech when it felt like Kansas was going to get Darian Williams. Man, imagine this Kansas team with Darian Williams instead of him going to NC State. But NC State opened up the pocketbook. Will Wade, he's a recruiter. He said it himself. He's on tape saying it. He makes a strong-ass offer to go get the players he wants. And the players he wanted at North Carolina State won 19 games. And now he's running back to LSU because, look, I know the SEC is an improved basketball league, and it is. It's a much improved basketball league. But Will Wade is running from the grind because you know what's a really hard job? North Carolina State. And maybe he didn't quite understand just how hard a job North Carolina State was when he took it. But North Carolina State is one of the hardest jobs in Major Division I basketball. And you know why it's one of the hardest jobs in Major Division I basketball? Because it's in the same neighborhood as two of the three most valuable pieces of real estate in college basketball. Mark Gottfried, the former coach there at North Carolina State, was the one who originally said, this is a tough neighborhood. Yes, when you were competing against Duke and North Carolina, who never slip, never waver, never really have down years, hard to gain any traction. And Will Wade found that out 1 year, decided to dip. Yeah, this isn't for me. I'm going back to LSU. There aren't a lot of coaches that I flat out don't have a lot of respect for in college basketball. Will Wade is at or near the top of that list for me. Also, Boston College hired UConn assistant coach Luke Murray today. Why is that noteworthy? Two reasons. Number one, UConn's still playing, and Murray is a big part of their offensive success. He's regarded as a really great offensive basketball mind. But number two, Luke Murray's related to Bill Murray. Luke's Bill's son. So Bill Murray's son is the head coach at Boston College now. So we'll be seeing a little less of Bill because he'd pop up at the tournament when Luke's teams were in the tournament. I don't think Luke's going to be making a lot of tournaments at Boston College. You're talking about a hard job. So that's the latest on the college basketball coaching carousel. One last headline I want to get into, and I guess this is a question that I'll put to you listeners. Were y'all into the poker on TV when that was a big deal? Which probably is close to 20 years ago now, when that was like really a big deal, when the World Series of Poker was on TV, and that was kind of its prime as a television event back when I was in college. Like, there's no reason I should know the name Chris Moneymaker, right? But we all know that name because he won the World Series of Poker, and it was on ESPN. Norman Chad was on the commentary. And it was, if there wasn't a live game or Sports Center on, they were running poker reruns. Poker was huge on ESPN like 20 odd years ago. Poker had largely disappeared from ESPN, but now there is an agreement in place between ESPN and the World Series of Poker, a multi-year agreement to bring the competition back to ESPN's platforms this summer. More than 100 hours of coverage of the World Series of Poker main event beginning on July 2nd, culminating in a 3-night finale broadcast over linear television, so presumably on Big ESPN, on the final table from August 3rd through the 5th. Poker back on television. And my question to you listeners is twofold. Number one, were y'all into that poker on TV? Because I could never get into the poker on TV. I don't really see the appeal of people playing cards as something I want to sit down and watch on television. That was never a big deal for me. But I understand that it became a big part of ESPN's programming lineup and something that a lot of people watched and a lot of people talked about, a lot of people were into. There was a poker boom. I remember, man, I went and played casino poker in Cripple Creek, Colorado, part of a buddy's bachelor party back 18 years ago. Like, I got sucked in a little bit, but I wasn't sitting down like, oh, man, final table's on tonight. Hold all my calls. Got to see if my boy Phil Ivey is going to catch that ace on the flop. I mean, I liked Rounders too. I liked the movie Rounders, but it's only but so far I was willing to go with the poker thing. But like, are you willing to get back in with the poker? Is my other question. Are you willing to get back in on watching this poker? Because I feel like the allure of poker on TV was, here's this thing that primarily is played in either casinos or in like dusty, dank basements, like trying to kind of keep it a secret. You know, the weekly poker game, the shadiness of gambling largely. That was back when, you know, before you had a casino in your pocket and you could bet on anything all the time, depending on what state you were in. I think there was like an allure to poker as a televised sport back in the day before legalized gambling. Now, I just don't think it has the same appeal. I don't think it has the same allure. I don't think it has that same sort of taboo feeling that surrounds it. I don't think people are going to get back into the poker like they were into the poker back in 2006. I remember being a college student, and there would be like, you know, we had a frat party and somebody have their room and they have the poker on TV in their room during the frat party. And they're watching, oh boy, who's the guy that did all the yelling? Oh, who's the guy? Oh gosh, I can picture his face. I feel like his name was Phil, not Phil Ivey, the other Phil. Phil Hellmuth. Phil Hellmuth. Oh man, that was going to bother me all show. Yeah, remember the Phil Hellmuth like flipping over chairs and F-bombing people when he didn't catch the queen on the river or whatever it was. I just feel like there won't be as much of that lure into the poker on TV now that gambling is legal broadly. And I remember, I could be wrong. I will say I could be wrong. Vance in the YouTube chat says I was a junkie for TV poker. I'll be in on it again. All right. Like, I get, like, if you're really into it, if you play the game a lot, if you're really a studious poker player, like, you get into it like I would get into a baseball game. I understand that. But I think a lot of the allure of it was like, this is this thing that we kind of don't talk about. This is this thing that's kind of shrouded a little bit. We don't talk about this because it's gambling, and gambling is still something you can only do in Vegas or in certain places. You got to keep it undercover. And now it's just everywhere. Text from the 785 says, I only watch poker to see Poker Brat throw a temper tantrum when somebody outplayed him. And he was able to give me the name Phil Hellmuth, which I appreciate. John Galt in the live chat on YouTube. Hellmuth is a gambling ace. He's been banned from so many casinos around the world. There's a great YouTube documentary about television poker, but also Phil Hellmuth, like just kind of laying out like what kind of living you really make playing poker for a living. And like he had some years where like he maybe didn't make any money, like lost money. Of course, you have the years where, you win big, you win a big tournament, and then you're a millionaire for that year. But it's a really entertaining documentary on YouTube. It's called Why Do I Choose This for a Living? If you are as annoyed by Phil Hellmuth's act as I can be, then maybe you won't like it as much, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a great deal. It's called Why Do I Choose This for a Living? About the television poker phenomenon. Anyhow, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Sweet 16. We'll get into some basketball when we come back here on 580 Sports Talk. In just a little bit, I'm going to take your baseball questions, baseball edition of AMA for this opening day. Have lots of Royals predictions teed up for tomorrow's show. Get you ready for the start of the season for the boys in blue. But today I want to take your questions. So text them 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429, or leave them in the YouTube chat, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, and I will answer your baseball-related questions. They just have to be tangentially baseball-related, and we can talk about it here on 580 Sports Talk. Sweet 16 gets underway with 4 games tonight. NCAA Tournament action. You can hear it right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. We'll get the party started with the pregame at 6 o'clock. 10 minutes after that, we got the tip-off between Texas and Purdue. Iowa and Nebraska also tipping off about 20 minutes after that. And then the late games are Arkansas, Arizona, and Illinois, Houston. I'll go game by game real quick. Purdue favored to beat Texas. Texas is what passes for Cinderella in this year's tournament. They're an 11 seed. They're the only double-digit seed, of course, to make it to the second weekend of this year's NCAA tournament. Purdue's an 8.5-point favorite. Purdue is the team that makes the argument for everybody who thinks that college basketball is better or college sports are better when teams stay together and guys don't go flying into the transfer portal all willy-nilly. Because Purdue's 3 best players are 4th and 5th year seniors. They've all played their whole careers together. Braden Smith, who's now the all-time NCAA leader in assists, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. There are 22 seniors just total playing in the Sweet 16. 22 4th, 5th year seniors playing in the Sweet 16, and Purdue's got 3 of them, and they've all played their whole careers together and have accomplished a lot together. They were part of that national runner-up team, lost to UConn in 2024 tournament, and now they're together for one last ride. And I admit that makes it, 1, a cool story, and 2, like, feel like I know this Purdue team a little bit because I have seen them play for so long. Like, I remember when Braden Smith was a freshman and everybody was talking about him like he was the next big thing. And when I saw him, I don't see it. And then I didn't really see him play well in games when I watched him as a sophomore. And maybe that's just my bad luck. You know, I just would tune in on nights where I thought Smith got outplayed, outclassed a little bit. Because obviously he's had a wonderful career and he's the all-time assist leader in college basketball history. So I was probably wrong if I said he wasn't very good when he was a freshman. That's the thing, though. Sometimes you're not very good when you're a freshman, and then you stick around. And by the time you're a senior, you're setting records, and you actually are really good. I would take Purdue to win this one. Not much hesitation. Texas got the big kid with the name I would butcher 6 ways from Sunday if I tried to say it, who's played really well, but Purdue can match that size because they can always match size. And I like their guards. I think they're a little bit more reliable than Texas is. I think Purdue wins that game. Iowa, Nebraska is going to be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Iowa plays very slow, very deliberately. It's one of the main reasons. I don't think, like, again, there is a world, there's a version of events where Bill Self isn't Kansas's basketball coach any longer. There's a version of events that could see him step aside. And in that version of events, I know there will be some people who say, well, Kansas should hire Ben McCollum. I don't think you can be a school that recruits 5 stars and NBA players and ask them to play Ben McCollum basketball. It's slow. It's deliberate. It looks nothing like the next level. I just don't think the recruiting resources at Kansas would be wasted on a style like that. That's not to say it's bad. It's just Kansas is a different kind of program. Like some coaches, their stuff works at one place and it wouldn't work in another place. And I just don't think Ben McCollum's stuff is the right stuff for Kansas. I think that's a non-starter for me. Plus, I think Ben McCollum, like Iowa, I think is the dream job. I think that's where he wants to be for the long haul. And good for him. He waited it out. He played his hand beautifully coming out of Northwest Missouri State, and now he's got his dream job. And now his dream school, his dream job is in the Sweet 16. And They play very slow. They play very deliberate. Nebraska plays some beautiful offense. They're a little bit more up-tempo. It's a great clash of styles. I think this game comes down to, does Bennett Sturts play well? Because when Sturts played well in the regular season, Iowa beat Nebraska. And when Sturts didn't play great in the Big 12 tournament, Nebraska beat Iowa. So Sturts is the bellwether. Iowa can win if he doesn't play well. He didn't play great against Florida, and they beat the number 1 seed. But Sturts is the guy. I'll go with the higher seed here. I'll lean toward the team that proved it was better all season long. But if Sturts is the best player on the court tonight, I was going to win. Also, I am wondering about that crowd tonight in Houston, because that's the South region. Houston is also in the South region. Houston plays Illinois tonight. How much of that building is Cougar fans? How much of that building is Husker fans? It is true, nobody takes over a building, a venue, like Nebraska fans. It's just a fact. It really is a fact. And they can be kind of obnoxious about it, Husker fans, but they're not lying when they say nobody takes over a building like we do. They're not lying. So the composition of the fans in that building is going to be really interesting. And I do wonder if that dampens a potential effect of home court advantage for Houston when they play Illinois tonight. I think this clash of styles is really interesting in that Illinois-Houston game. Who imposes their will? Is it Illinois imposing their will and their style? Is it Houston imposing their will and theirs? Because there's a version of that game where Houston could absolutely put Keaton Wagler in jail for 40 minutes and Illinois can't run their stuff. But in the end, I think Illinois, and I picked this matchup and I picked Illinois to win it, even knowing the game would be in Houston, because I think Illinois' size is going to be the advantage. I think that's going to unlock a lot of things for them. I think it's going to make it really, really hard for Houston to score, unless they hit a bunch of threes. I just think Houston's going to find it hard to score enough. Even if it is a low-scoring game, I think Illinois pulls it out. Arkansas, Arizona is the other game tonight. I picked Arizona to win the national championship. I'm sticking with them. This is all about, can Darius Acuff do it himself? Can he crack the code on Arizona's defense? He's only 6'3". He's not a big guard. Arizona's so big and physical. Can he weave through the trees and make things happen for the Razorbacks enough that they can score enough to win that game? That, I think, is the big question. My money is on no. I just think Arizona is going to be too big and too physical for him and too big on the other end. And Arizona, they're going to have their hands full. Like, Acuff is going to get his. I'm not saying they're going to, have him in a box for the entirety of the game. But I do think Arizona will be able to keep him in check. And I think if Acuff is in check in any way, in any actual way, they won't have enough offense, I think. So those are the picks. Purdue, Arizona, and Houston and Illinois with a lot of conviction. Nebraska with a little less conviction. When we come back, it's Ask Me Anything Baseball Edition. Have some good questions I'm going to get to when we return. Get your questions in, 785-272-9429, and on the YouTube live chat on 580 Sports Talk. 547 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero hanging out with you. It is opening day across most of Major League Baseball. And in that spirit, I thought I would do a baseball-related Ask Me Anything. So any baseball question you have for me, get it in now. The text line, 785-272-9429. Or the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the chat. We'll start with a Royals question from Mark H. Which Royal will lead the team in home runs in 2026? So it's a interesting question because you had two 30-homer guys last year, and Bobby Witt's been a 30-homer guy, and certainly Jack Caglione has the potential to be a 30-homer guy. So it's going to be one of those four, right? Salvi, Vinny, Bobby, or Jack. Jack's kind of your long shot pick. And the fences moving in are going to affect the home run totals for guys. I'm going to go with Vinny. I think Vinny's got about a 35-homer season in him. He really turned on the power in the second half of last season, made an adjustment. So I might even be underselling him at 35 home runs. It's a funny thing. I really thought Pasquantino was going to come up and be like one of those old school RBI guys where, you know, he was known for his batting eye coming up and known for his ability to hit line drives. I thought, you know, maybe he's a 20, 25 home run guy at best. He could get to 40 this year, depending on how the ball's carrying at the K. He really might. So I'm going to go Vinny. That's going to be my guess. We'll have some more predictions like that on tomorrow's 580 Sports Talk. Another question from the live chat. Mark B. on YouTube asked, which rule changes in baseball annoy you the most? Universal DH, California League extra inning tiebreaker, etc.? The answer to that question, as phrased, Mark, is yes. I hate both of those rules. I've learned to live with the universal DH. It is what it is. I miss pitchers hitting. I miss, like, the fun of a Bartolo Colon randomly hitting a home run. You just don't get those moments of joy anymore. When Bartolo Colon hit that home run, the Mets announcer unironically referred to it as one of the greatest moments in baseball history. It was his first and only career home run. You don't get that anymore because pitchers don't hit. I've always believed pitchers are baseball players too, and should have to perform all the duties as assigned, including hitting for themselves. But the DH does make for more offense. And in an era where it's harder and harder to hit anyway, for even the good hitters who are professional hitters, do it for a living, then adding one more offensive weapon to the game, I think does make some sense. It's an attempt to balance those things out. And I've learned to live with that. California League tiebreaker is a sin. Rob Manfred will not see the pearly gates because he inflicted the extra inning runner on second tiebreaker upon Major League Baseball. But it's not going anywhere because players don't get paid overtime. That's a fact. Let's do another one from the live chat. Vance asked, favorite baseball movie. I lean Major League here. A lot of great ones. Bull Durham's great. I actually think Little Big League, which was a kid's movie, came out when I was like 8 or 9. I actually think that one holds up really well. There's a reason MLB Network shows it a lot. Doesn't show like Rookie of the Year as often. The Sandlot is, of course, great. I'm looking forward to sharing some of these with my boy as he grows up, but not going to share Major League with him until he's a little older. But Major League is my favorite. The montage is great. The baseball characters are great. I just think that's a great film. I think Major League is the best one. Bull Durham, probably a close second. But those are my two favorites. Let's do another one from the live chat. Andrew, two-parter. Favorite ballpark food without the credentials, and have you or will you give the 999 a try? I don't think I can do the real 999, but maybe I'll give the fake one a try at the K this year. Favorite ballpark food without the credentials? I mean, hard to beat. Joe's Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. Did enjoy the garlic French fries when I went to San Francisco many years ago. Did enjoy the garlic fries. Also, the first time I ever had fish tacos was at Qualcomm Stadium, the old stadium in San Diego. Those are pretty high on the list too. But sometimes you can't beat a hot dog, like the Dodger dog, as good as advertised. A hot dog and some old style at the at Wrigley Field, also high on my list. Jeffrey asks, who are my 3 favorite all-time Major League players? Oh, man, we could be here all day trying to answer that question. That's a good one. Hard to narrow it down to 3. Certainly Todd Helton, Mr. Rocky, Hall of Famer. Got to be on my list of top 3 favorites. My first favorite, I'll do it this way. I'll give you my first favorites when I was a kid. My 2 first favorites when I was a kid were Tom Glavine of the Braves, because he was left-handed like me, and Dante Bichette of the early Rockies teams, because he hit the ball a long way, and he had really cool walk-up music. His walk-up music was Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel, and that song rules. If you don't like Peter Gabriel, you're messing up. Sledgehammer is awesome, and that was his walk-up music. So Dante was cool. So I'll give you those 3. Otherwise, if I was trying to think of more, I'd be here all day. And then the question I teased earlier from the 785, who was the last fun Yankee? They haven't met a lot of fun Yankees in their history. But the Yankee that I had the most fun rooting for was Greg Bird. And that's maybe not a name you remember. He was a first baseman that came up late in the 2010s, had a really nice September run for them. I want to say in 2017 was when he broke in, dealt with some injuries, was never quite the same player after that, and hasn't appeared in a big league game, I think since 2019. But Greg Bird was a high school teammate of my younger brother's at Grandview High School. And I got to see that kid when he was 14 years old just destroy in batting practice. And I came away from that experience knowing what they look like at that age, knowing what a big leaguer looks like when they are 14. It was Greg Bird. So that's the Yankee I've had the most fun rooting for. Other than that, no, there has never been a fun Yankee, except for Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson is the only fun Yankee. Final answer. Him and Greg Bird for different reasons. Thanks for the questions. We'll do a final word to wrap up next. I did not leave myself a lot of time for a final word today, so I will simply say this. Baseball is back. We made it. We made it. Baseball is back, and tomorrow, Royals baseball is back. We'll be with you until 5:30 tomorrow, previewing the Royals season and their opening game. We got Sweet 16 coverage next from Westwood One. Enjoy the basketball tonight. My name is Dan Lucero. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.